Good morning. This is Vito's. Good morning. I just went live for like 5 minutes and I didn't hit the button right. So, welcome back. Today we're talking about sewer laterals. But before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about something else that's a little more serious. And I had it up here. I wanted to ask you your input on whether or not we should have a certain thumbnail. And it might be a little off color, but I'll tell you why. Let me explain this to you real quick. This month is mental health, or last month was Mental Health Awareness Month. And we didn't hear hardly anything. We didn't hear one iota, one blip about it. I knew about it because, I follow a lot of different trends. We heard about a month of the court circus that was the Heard Depp trial. And it was obvious that poor lady has some issues, right? But the story is, guys, let me get this back up real quick. Last month was Mental Health Awareness Month, and poor Amber Heard, I don't care what side you voted for Depp or Heard. I don't care what side of the aisle you vote on. We have an epidemic issue throughout the entire nation of mental health issues, mental illness, and I just voted. Just put my ballots in the ballot box over at the community center, and there was not one mention of mental illness and how we're going to affect that. And I know this is a small platform, but I want people to understand that this is where it starts. We have to start talking to our politicians, to our policymakers. Again, I don't care what side of the aisle you vote on. We need to get this problem handled for many reasons. Talk to your council members, talk to your mayors, talk to your county supervisors, get up and talk to the governor and the state side. We're spending billions of dollars sending money overseas for all sorts of different reasons. We're fighting amongst ourselves. And the real issue is we have one thing that we can focus on as a people, and that's mental illness. We can handle this. And it's not that it's a difficult issue. It's going to cost a lot of money, but at the same time, it's something we can all pull together and fix. And I'm at the root cause of this because I see, this happening on the streets all the time. And I'm sure when you drive to work, you see it all the time. And what we tend to do is walk away from it or don't pay attention to it. We need to start paying attention to it. There's a majority of these people that need help and they don't know how to get it. Or we have a system that blocks them from getting the help that they need. And it's sad. And we need to get these poor people off the street, pick them up, dust them off, get them help, bring them back into society. Enough said. Anyway, I wanted to talk about that whole Amber Heard thing, and I had that thumbnail. So if you like the idea of that thumbnail that I had, tell me in the comments and I'll use it. I don't know if I want to use it or not because that might be a little too incendiary, but that doesn't really matter to me. So today we're talking about sewer laterals. Morgan Hill just adopted an ordinance that requires all home sellers to comply with a sewer lateral compliance. And I had the website's up. Can't find it right now. As soon as I shut down this, I'm sure I'll find them. But I was going to show you the certificates. I was going to show you the inspection, all this other stuff. Here's the bottom line, right? This is going to affect you. It doesn't matter if you live in Morgan Hill, Los Gatos, Cupertino, Milpitas. It doesn't matter because it's happening all over. As a matter of fact, Santa Cruz already has this ordinance. Santa Cruz County has this ordinance in place. East Bay has this ordinance in place, meaning that when you buy or sell a house in, say, Vallejo, you're required to comply and get a certificate for sewer lateral compliance, right? And what is a sewer lateral? It's that pipe that goes from your house down to the sewer main. And you're like, well, it doesn't affect me because, from that part to the sewer line because it's part of the street. it doesn't matter. In the CCNRs, when you buy a house and the title and everything, they wrap it around saying it's your responsibility as a homeowner. Well, and then you might think, well, it's I can just push that off on the buyer. You absolutely can, but the buyer has 180 days to make this thing comply, right? To fix this problem. But what happens if your tree is growing roots into your sewer lateral, or an earthquake shook it apart and what have you? Somebody's got to take care of that, right? And this is an issue that we just were made aware of yesterday at our meeting. And I'm like, hey, you know what? I think we need to talk about this. And the reason why I'm talking about this is it affects you. It affected me. I had a duplex in another state, and we didn't know about it until a tenant told us, hey, there's something going on. So we took care of it. We moved the tenant out, cleaned up the situation, went to the city, said, hey, there's a situation with the sewer. I think it's your responsibility. They're like, no, it's your responsibility. It's on the sewer lateral side. Cost me thousands of dollars to have that fixed. So we had to fix the house. We had to fix underneath the house. The poor guy had to go underneath the house and clean up all that sludge. Disgusting. And you had to repipe that whole thing. Cost us thousands and thousands of dollars. And you're like, well, it's not going to affect me. It's going to affect you. I'll tell you straight up. It's happened twice to my street, to two homes on my street. So far, it's been on the other side of the block of my street. It's happened twice. And the first one, I can tell you, was about $7,500. And I don't know how much the other one was, but I can almost tell you that's, this happened last year. It was probably like, I don't know, probably $10,000. I don't know what the cost is today, but we're facing high inflation, so you don't know what it's going to cost. So be aware and stay tuned, because I have something I'm going to find and tell you how to fix this. So just be aware that that's something that can affect you, and it's probably going to affect you. But Vito, I live in an HOA, a townhouse, or a condo. Well, you may or may not have to worry about that, right? We don't know. That's up to the HOA and that individual governing body that decides how that's going to be affected. Are they going to cover that as part of the HOA? Or is it going to be the same thing where it goes from your house to the HOA sewer line, which will then in turn, tributary to the city thing? We don't know. That's something you have to ask your HOA, the management staff at the HOA, right? What happens if you're in a mobile home? Probably the same thing, right? They're probably not going to pay for your sewer lateral. So it would be smart for you to ask them. Well, what happens if you have a septic? Well, you probably don't need to get a sewer lateral, but you should have a septic inspection, right? So how much is all this going to cost? Well, it's probably going to be about $1,500, maybe $2,000, depending on how much other stuff you have to have. But we always recommend that we want you to have at least the property and the pest, and a roof if it's older. And then now if you're in Morgan Hill, you're going to have that certificate, which costs you another $300. So keep that in mind when you're selling a house. We have programs that are designed to help offset these costs within our system, within working with Compass. So if you're interested in learning how we can help you offset these costs a little bit, let me know. And that was a sales pitch. I live in South San Jose, and I belong to the Great Oaks Water Company. Well, my water gets fed from the Great Oaks Water Company. And I have a link. I had it in the website, which I lost. I don't know where it is. I'll find it. But if you're interested in learning about where to find it, let me see if I can find it real quick. Of course, I was all prepared and I pushed one button. Anyway, Great Oaks, I know San Jose Water, they have it in an insurance program, and it's $10 to $20 a month. I know it's a lot of money, but if you think about it, $10 a month is worth a whole lot more. It's a lot better to pay that versus paying, $10,000 or more to have it fixed on the offset chance. And in my situation, in my house, it's the odds are in my favor that I'm going to need it at one time. So if you're interested in learning more about getting that insurance, if you want to learn more about Morgan Hill, and here's the thing, guys, it's going to be a time in the next 20 years that the other cities within the county are going to require this ordinance. It's going to be it's just going to be a natural progression. I think Morgan Hill jumped the gun because they're like, I'm not going to pay for, we don't have the money to pay for it. It really belongs to the owner. Let's make this an issue where, we're being fined upstanding citizens, right? So there's other things you have to do too. When you sell a house, you have to have your CO detector, your smoke detector. You have to make sure that's all done right. You have to have your water heater strapped correctly. There's all sorts of different things that we have to do. Morgan Hill is going to enforce this, and they can come back and red tag your house if you're not in compliance. So, who's responsible for making all this done? It's the seller and the buyer, right? The escrow company is not going to take responsibility. The real estate companies can't take responsibilities. We can show you that this needs to be done. And if your agent doesn't know anything about this, have them call me, right? Or have them talk to their broker, because it's important, because this is not going to go away, and this is just another added cost of doing business in California. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. If you have any questions or comments, pop them down below. Happy to talk to you about, sewers or inspections or marketing or what have you. I'm Vito Scarnicchio with the Avitano Group, powered by Compass. We'll see you out there.